Hey, welcome to the Franklin Public Library Board Building and Grounds Committee meeting. It is 2:10, so we're going to get started with our meeting. First up, call to order. Take roll call. Annalee Bennon? Here. Annie Vitaso Klubja?
Here.
Okay, we're ready to go. There are no visitors, no public comment. So we'll move on to the approval of the minutes from the April 6, 2023 meeting of the Building and Grounds Committee.
I make a motion, we approve the minute.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Minutes are approved. Okay, we'll move on to the business. First item up is discussion regarding soliciting on library grounds policy with Assistant City Attorney Cooper Prindle. I'm going to turn to page 3 and 4. Okay, we've been going back and forth. So the reason for this meeting is so that you can work with the Building and Grounds Committee to kind of come to some decisions regarding soliciting on library property. First off, I think that you guys were fine with the first part of the policy, appropriate conduct, that you didn't have any issues with. The general statement, you didn't appear to have any issues with. But solicitations by staff members, and I apologize, I was going to look in the personnel manual because that should be in the City of Franklin.
Oh, wait,
personnel
I did
manual.
have one question about the general statement.
Yeah.
Library director should be called to escort the solicitor out of the building. We're leaving that up to you to escort someone out of the building?
If they don't leave,
Okay.
I would.
Or call for,
Well, I think that would be if I can't.
Okay.
Then I would
Okay.
call.
You call police.
I mean,
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
And I would say just in extreme
right,
Yeah.
situations where
right,
they're
yeah,
being disorderly or
right.
otherwise, ideally the police don't have to be called then.
Ideally,
Yeah.
yes. Okay, I'm sorry for interrupting.
No. And so we feel like number 2 should be covered in the personnel manual and not in this policy.
Okay.
So moving on to number 3, I don't believe there were any issues with any of the verbiage in this section.
The only thing that came up in that section was like that, what's the appropriate amount of space? I felt like that's what we kind of went around with at the board meeting
Right,
that day. Like, do we have to identify that? And the thoughts are on the Cooper, but that was one thing I felt like that was a bigger.
I think that's a
concern.
big-
yeah, it's further down on regulations on number 4.
Yeah, so we could just turn to page 4.
Okay, sorry. I missed
Yeah.
that part.
I mean,
Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I read through this.
Yeah, we were talking about that.
They want to have some kind of distance.
so 50 feet pretty much takes us to the curb line where right at the edge of that. I call it the concrete plaza because it's just a mass of concrete right there.
Before we go there, can we, so 1C, public demonstrations, semicolon, and does that go down to verbal communication? Or is that just a dangling and?
Yeah, so it would be A, B, C, and the verbal
Okay.
communication.
Should I put a comma there? Or you think?
Is it necessary? Wouldn't just public demonstrations be? Because it's A, B, C, and D.
Okay, I can
Just
get,
seems a little confusing.
Yeah,
Like we don't need the and there.
You're right.
Right. So we're not saying it's an all-inclusive list.
Yeah.
Anyhow.
Right.
okay.
that might just be some legal writing getting in the way.
Yeah, I'm not.
'Cause
So it's
typically
all-
when, typically
my
when
gig.
there's a list, it'll be the semicolon and then the last one there's an and.
Okay.
Um,
Oh.
yeah.
And/or?
I don't know.
Can I just get rid of the and? Or should I leave it?
Yeah, it's because it's our policy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
This
we
isn't
don't
like a
usually do legal
contract
ease.
or-
Yeah. Get rid of it.
Get rid of it.
Judy will catch it when we approve it. If it's... And okay, so then I just have a question. So public demonstrations, and then it says persons wishing to engage in the above permitted public activities must obtain permission in advance. So people are going to ask for permission to have a demonstration on the grounds.
We talked about that, and a lot of it was I just want to know when things are happening.
Okay.
So it was kind of more than asking permission, it was notifying, that way the library director, or we could put library director or his or her designee.
Okay, so just from a legal standpoint, so if say there's like a book burning protest or something, the leader of the protest who's like comes in and says, we're going to demonstrate out in front because we're against book burning, and you'll say, okay, that's how it's going to like,
Essentially, yeah, it's more of a notice than
okay, so they need to notify you that they're going to be demonstrating.
I would think,
That-
wouldn't the library director need to
It's-
know what's going on? I don't know.
I don't know.
In
I mean,
fact,
I was
just somebody
Madison,
starting
I
the
do
match.
full of demonstrations, and I remember.
You don't
when
think you
telling
ever-
people, hey, we're going to be demonstrating out front, just like, you know what I mean?
right. Yeah, it's really just more of a notice in the
When we had the Black Lives Matter demonstration outside, they did notify
They
me.
did they?
Mhm.
Okay.
in the small instance that it's something not allowed to be out there,
Okay.
and then they all of a sudden you go out there, see them, and then there's an issue. Which
But
would
if
be
it's a
very, very
demonstration
rare.
and we can't really make it not allowed because of free speech, right?
Yes, unless it was something egregious.
Okay.
Um,
Okay. This is
It's all very hard because I
Yeah,
want to make
it
sure
is.
that I'm.
it is. Yeah, it's definitely nothing like they need a permit to be out there or
Right.
anything given, but just
but
notice
just
so
let
that
you know.
staff and everyone's aware of.
So because we use the word must, does it kind of put us in a position if they, so I look at it as it gives the director kind of the ability to step in and say, oh, you should have obtained permission. With the word must in there, is it gonna put Jennifer in a spot where she has to tell them to leave because it's a must versus a like may?
Well, so most of these, I mean, if let's say they weren't to notify you, that's not necessarily going to require you to make them leave.
Right. Because there is First Amendment.
Right.
I mean, basically, you
It
go up to them
apply.
and say, hey, in the future, like our
Right.
policy says you need to,
Or
and then
maybe
they
it,
carry on.
maybe instead of saying must obtain, maybe it's should notify the library director or his or her designee in advance.
We could change instead of obtain permission, must notify. I do think it would
You think
I feel better about
to
that.
keep must in there because otherwise, if someone reads this, they're like, "Well, we should notify, but we don't
Must
do." No.
must notify
the library director
in advance.
or his or her, I probably should put his or her if I'm not here and
Well,
there's,
you have language above, right? Isn't it like designate
Yeah.
librarian in charge? So library director,
Okay.
librarian in charge. Keep the same language. That's more realistic, right? Because you're not really obtaining permission.
in advance. I'll put in advance.
Yes.
They should let us know before they start their books burning or whatever they're doing.
Well, I mean, do you know what? I still drive by 10 times a day and have not seen the demonstration.
Come back.
Wonder if they listen to our meeting.
They might have.
Okay, so that was one question. I think that was all, Carrie. Do you remember, or Annalie or Annie, do you remember anything else?
And the personnel stuff.
So the distance, the 50 feet, as I said, puts us almost to the curb.
Yeah, just whatever you guys think is reasonable to.
Should I have a map and circle literally the two areas they could be? Because that's really the only places they could be.
Around
They-
the flag and on the end there.
Well, I suppose they could be around the flag.
I think that's the perfect protesting place around the flag. I mean, it's a great spot.
Yeah.
Right? High
It's a little
visibility.
torn up right now, so I
Yeah.
hope
America,
nobody's.
you're in America.
hoping-
Yeah. High visibility. You're out of traffic. You're not blocking the library.
Okay,
You know what I mean? You just stick them all there.
then you'd have.
If you think for clarity purposes, a map would be helpful, that definitely.
I mean, the two little spots in the concrete plaza and then around the flagpole is pretty much it.
Yeah.
Because anywhere else, they would either be in the parking lot or in a sidewalk, which they shouldn't be blocking.
The wrong way bullets.
But it's not a sidewalk into the library.
Sure. But it is still a sidewalk that people walk along.
Yeah, I suppose technically they could be if we, yeah, they could be along the sidewalk.
Well, it's not
By
like this
the
is going to be a
Veterans Memorial.
constant thing, though,
I
right?
mean, we've had
So,
we've had
Yeah.
2 issues with it the whole
Yeah.
time I've been
So,
here.
I mean, it's not like it's going to be an everyday thing when the sidewalk's going to be blocked.
I think the 50 feet leaves it a little more, not vague, but open, so you're not
Yeah.
feeling like you have to push onto the flagpole if there's somewhere else.
Yeah.
And that seemed to be what the board was saying, like
Yeah.
keep them clear where people aren't uncomfortable
Right.
or not able to visit the library because they don't want to.
And then the flagpole is like the purpose spot because you don't have to walk past them to get
Right.
to the library.
Right.
I think that's one of the things that really does other people.
And if you really need sidewalk, walk to the end, the sidewalk, cross, come to the sidewalk, and you walk in. And you've completely avoided it.
That's it. They would be able to go around.
Yeah.
Whereas when they were parked under the under the cover,
Yeah.
there was no way of getting by them when you walk in.
And that's what we don't want.
Yeah. That.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're in agreement on that. And is there anything else we need to add that you guys feel we need to add?
I think so. I mean, it's pretty comprehensive. And Cooper, you're comfortable with everything?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, the main idea is just, it needs to be content neutral, which is how it was written up, and obviously then goes without saying, I think, but just applied that same way, and then
All right.
I mean, like you told me on the phone, it's just important to like apply it evenly across.
Right.
Don't appear to be discriminating against any,
Right.
or
Yeah.
just don't discriminate against
Book
any
learners.
group.
and so then obviously if they're being disorderly or unnecessarily loud, then
We call you,
Then-
and you come over and
call the police. I don't know that I'll be able to do too much.
When you say, like, if you said egregious, are there any groups, I mean, hate groups that we can, groups that might not be protected under?
So it's more so, I don't think so in terms of like groups, but what their conduct would be. So if they're using profanity, now you get into the realm of disorderly conduct, and things under the ordinances that could be citable, even if it is.
Hate speech?
Yes. Now, there's still First Amendment law that does allow profanities, but if it's unreasonably loud, if they're directing it towards people, if it would have to get it would have to get into the realm of a citable offense, versus just existing there.
Well, if
talking
it-
about what they,
If it got to that point,
then that's
I'd
when the police
probably
would-
call the police.
correct.
and-
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you won't have to make that decision.
Right, because that's
Your
my
enforcement.
thing is what it's, I think there could be very blurred
Yeah.
lines.
Obviously, you never know on things that'll happen, but if it got to the point where you're debating, asking someone to leave, to remove them, that probably would be police involvement at that point,
Right.
based on their conduct and what.
at least to have
What's going
backup. Have, if
Right.
you should need it. Yeah, I feel like if you feel uncomfortable, you should call the police.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we don't want you
Right.
Right, I
to
don't,
be the
I don't want to be.
defense against any kind of. So I would feel like if you felt it was time, even if you were the one who went out and did it, if you had some backup, you know what I mean?
It's more than one person. making
Yeah,
the decision.
exactly. Your safety is paramount.
And the nice thing about a few years ago when we had the Black Lives Matter group, I mean, not only did they contact me to let me know they were going to be there, they contacted the police and said, "Hey, we're going to be out there, and we want to work with you. We want to make this is just peaceful."
Right.
You know?
Right.
So that was a very good group.
Yeah, those aren't the ones we're worried about.
No. And hopefully it won't get
Yeah.
but you know, to have something to cover us if
Right.
it did is good because we never have had this before.
Right.
Yeah, you have to have something to lean on. In the appeals process, maybe this doesn't matter, would you have library director in there, or since it's appealing and enforcement, which is the library director's position, decision-making authority, would you just have appeals come to the library board? Or library board president?
Yes, I guess just for that, be directed towards the library director, the appeal.
The appeal would, yeah.
But then yes, it would be heard at the board.
Okay, so the
So
library director reserves a decision-making authority, but if they want to appeal it, they would go to the library board.
Correct.
Yeah.
But decision-making authority in terms of, they are inhibiting the exit and entrance to the library and asking them to move, for example.
okay.
Yeah.
So wait, just clarify that. So they send the appeal. Not that this is ever gonna. They send the appeal to the library director, because it says library director, library board. Do we just need
I
library
think library board.
I
Yeah.
just
Appealing
I see what you mean.
a decision
Yeah.
by the director.
that we set the policy into motion?
So we say, yeah,
Right.
policy is followed. and-
Yeah.
So if they don't like the 50 feet,
Yeah.
then they'd have to appeal to you guys. But
Yeah.
I would say, well, you have to stay 50 feet away,
Right.
and you can't block entrance. You can't block people going in and out.
And then they
If
would-
they didn't like that, they'd
Yeah.
have to appeal to the library
To
board.
us, because then that takes their responsibility off of you.
I don't even think the language is written that way. I think it's, the way I read it, correct me, is like persons who wish to appeal and enforcement. So I look at enforcement right above it. It's not even like appeal to policy, which any policy, if they want to appeal, you can go to the board anyways. But in this case, I look at the appeal as they're just going to appeal
Going
your
over here.
enforcement of it, which is your
Yeah.
decision. So it
Right.
comes to the board. I thought you wouldn't bring it to us anyways, but
Right.
So take library director out of there.
Yeah.
Okay. Otherwise, it looks okay to me, Annalee.
yeah, I think it looks good. Those are the only things I noticed.
Okay.
Alright. Good.
You're free to go,
Thank you very much.
unless you really want to stay and
Yeah,
listen
let's
to all the
hang out.
nitty gritty about our library
Our financial.
buildings and grants. Yeah, our financial woes.
Leave that to you guys.
Jump while you can.
Nice
It's
to meet
nice
you all.
meeting you.
Thank you.
Thanks for your help on this.
Okay. Okay.
Alright.
So we will move on to the review and recommendation regarding 2024 to 2026 capital improvement expenditures for Franklin Buckwick. I met with Carrie and I met with the finance committee last week to go over the 2024 budget and to look ahead at 2024 to 2026. So one of the things on there was, of course, capital improvement, which kind of comes back to you guys because you're the ones who kind of make the priorities, who set the priorities for what we're going to do. Next year on the list, we have the RFID security security system, gates and self-checks. Water heaters, although IRS has recommended that we just stick with our water heaters until they actually go
I'm all for that.
because they are older and much more reliable than the new ones out
Yeah.
there. The new ones out there are probably not going to last a quarter of what these have lasted. So their advice on it was don't do anything on them until you have to. And it's a relatively small amount.
I was gonna say that
Yeah.
amount, like if we have, whatever year we have to float it. We should,
We just have to
So
make a
adjust
budget amendment and add it in there.
Yeah.
So I'm taking, if you guys are good with it, I want to
Yeah.
take that out.
Okay, can we get to the big ticket item?
You want to talk about the air cooled chiller?
Yeah, it's
Yes,
Freaking me
okay.
out.
So I got an email. So during preventative maintenance, they found that we were low on coolant. So Bob contacted IRS to get their opinion on it. And Keith, who's the head of the project, so he's the guy at Industrial Roofing Service, not the Internal Roofing Service, who's in charge of the building projects here in Franklin. And his opinion was, I would definitely get a new package chiller on order. The one you have and the issues you have been having are indications it has reached the end of its useful life. It's not worth investing additional funds to keep it going. Right now, depending upon tonnage, new units have a lead time of 9 to 12 months. Now, on the bright side, the boilers should be fine,
Well, that's good.
according to him. There was a little oil when they were doing some work on it. They found some oil and something, and that kind of makes, yeah,
So has IRS become our blanket?
kind of,
I don't like that.
yeah.
They never bring in, like, they won't do a bid
I
for
don't-
that or anything?
No, IRS is in charge of the bids, so
Okay.
they'll write up the bid document.
But now it's just them, right?
Interesting.
So
Well-
anything that needs to be done, we go to them and they say, oh, that's gonna be $100,000. Do we?
That's their estimate though, because they still have to get bids.
But you're saying, do we have a second opinion come in and look at it?
Yeah.
We can always, the library board can always get a second opinion.
I mean, I feel like
Always.
$100,000 project that we're just, I'm not, I don't know how you feel. I'm not comfortable with them. All of a sudden they're just like, okay, we need this done. Oh, that's gonna be $50,000. We'll take care of that for you.
It should be
Let
kind
you
of
know.
more a benchmark of
Yeah.
what we choose, 10 grand maybe, then we have a
Right.
second opinion.
Right,
Like, I understand chillers are tricky, like,
right.
they go down. I've dealt with it a lot in schools. And then the lead time to get parts is hard and, I'd be curious what they're saying the investment of money would be in it and how much life that would give us. Maybe they gave you that information, maybe not. They didn't. Those might be good questions for us to ask. Like, okay, you're saying it's not worth putting money into, but what is that investment we'd be doing? Is it $10,000 and it's giving us 5 years? Because
Well-
that is a decision we make.
So one of the complications right now is the R22 refrigerant that we have in there is no
Oh, it's
longer.
going out.
It's gone out, it's phased out. So we are paying $200 a pound. And you know how many pounds our compressors hold?
And how often do we refill that?
Well, we just had to refill it because we had a leak,
Okay.
which is why he said he thinks that,
But how often does that happen?
well, we had to refill it last year.
Okay.
We
How much
had
was
to-
it?
That was, they just put like 50, I'd have to look at the bill, but it was like around 50 to 100 pounds.
So it's $20,000
No, because it's $100 a pound.
or $100? Okay.
Well, they gave it to us at $100 a pound because at that point the prices had gone up, but they had a stockpile of it that they had paid $100 for.
Okay.
So they gave it to us at the price that they paid.
That's nice.
But they warned me at that time that next time we had to fill it, it was going to be $200 a pound.
And what company was this?
That is,
Not IRS.
no.
Is it that guy?
Yes,
The
Chris.
Ziggy, right?
Ziggy, thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
This is what no sleep does to your
I
brain.
understand
I
completely.
cannot remember names for the life of me. Ziggy, Chris Ziggy.
I mean,
yeah, that's what he
Can
said.
we have him come in and take a look?
He's great at doing the
Little
preventative and the maintenance and the little stuff, but when it comes to the big stuff,
But can he call it? Does he know our system well enough to say, yeah, this is going? Do you know what I mean?
I think Bob could ask him.
Because he's our guy anyways. We like
Yeah.
him.
Well, and I also think he's very truthful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Annalie, obviously you know a lot better than I do, but I just don't feel comfortable with just one.
One opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can certainly ask
And it's a
Bob.
lot of big dollar numbers that
Well-
they just kind of kick back to us.
They had 100,000 in here, and that was that was the city's number. Bob Tesh is now saying it could be in the 250,000 range. And that would be a city
Yeah,
city
right.
expense.
Right.
But there's still nothing saying that the library board can't get a second opinion, even if it's a city expense. I mean,
Right.
Well, yeah, because what if,
Especially if we're from 100 to $250,000.
exactly.
That's a big
It's a-
hike.
I
Yeah,
don't
you know,
I don't know about inflation in the air chiller industry
I mean, a lot of that's been like 30% inflation, like that's what we're figuring.
because
When we're looking at things and the lead time to get parts, you are in this different position where you gotta kind of lifeline items and also like consider when you need to just order new because you're not gonna be able to get that part
Yeah.
quickly. So, I mean, it is like this weird.
Yeah, if it's a 9 to 12
Dynamic
month. Yeah.
So we've seen some of that too, and yeah, the inflation rate's been like 25 to 30%. So I mean, I'm not surprised it's going to be considerably higher than maybe what the city told us whenever they told us that
I
100,000.
mean, that was pre-pan. When did they do that whole IRS thing? Might have been actually during
It
the
was
pandemic.
during
Yeah, it was during COVID, but not when things went crazy.
Yeah, it took a good year to get into it before those prices started.
Yeah. So I too find it hard to believe it would go from 100,000 to 250, but like I said, I don't know much about the industry. If they had to switch to the newer refrigerant, they would have to repipe everything. So first of all, that would be a huge construction thing,
Oh, yeah.
'cause they would have to, yeah, that'd be huge. And then you're looking in the Bob's guess was 500,000, but it could be more than that. But again, that would be a city. That would be a city expense,
Yeah.
Yeah.
not a library expense. But I think it would be good to get somebody in here.
Like Annalee said, I mean, what if we do patch it? What if we pay 10 grand and we get 5 more years out of it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or is it better?
Like if
to
they
do
put
it?
those numbers to it, right? That's what I'd be curious
Yeah.
about.
The problem is they don't know exactly where the leaks are and they think that they're just a bunch of little small tiny leaks, which is why,
Okay.
and we're not, it's like, okay, we're right now we're filling it up. We filled it up last summer. We're filling
Like
it up this
$2,000
summer.
right now. It is, except that you're not going to be able to get that coolant.
We can still get the coolant. It's just the prices of it are going to go up.
next year.
The more rare it gets, the
Yeah.
higher the prices are going to be.
Back.
Yeah. To the black market.
Yeah, exactly. Coolant dealer.
So that's going to have to be on the possible replacement list. But
Right.
I mean, and this is just because I have it on here doesn't mean we do it. But that's going to have to go up to 250,000, and that's going to be a city. That's how I will enter it when I do my capital improvement expenses this week. But the big debate that I've been talking with Carrie, I think I talked to you about it, and Maureen about the carpet versus the self checks.
Yeah, you did. You mentioned it.
So our carpeting is a little embarrassing.
Throughout the library?
In some.
I think-
stores than others, but-
I think more on this east side of the library more than on the children's side of the library. Not saying that the children's side is great, but there's definitely spots, especially around where the computers were. It's just they're bare from the
Right.
chairs going over them.
Sure.
So I'm, again, you guys set the priorities for what needs to be done. Maureen thinks, the self checks are old. I upgraded them to Windows 10, like, what's that?
Well, yours, right?
I think it was pre-pandemic.
Oh.
Yeah, I think so. I'd have to look back. But, and we do pay a maintenance agreement on them every year. So if something does go wrong, they will come and fix it. So my question is, should we flip
I
security
mean-
gates for carpet?
Which is more serviceable? Which one? I mean, you know what I mean? Which one can you push off the longest without? If the self checks have a maintenance thing, they'll come and fix them. Do we need to?
As
replace
long as when they're supporting Windows 10,
Right.
if they stop supporting Windows 10,
Can we upgrade to Windows 11?
we can, but then I'd have to pay money.
How much though? I mean, would it be?
Well, when I
30
upgraded to
grand?
Windows 10, I want to say it was like around 10,000.
Well, then you're better off just getting a new system.
Right. I wouldn't recommend upgrading because we're not going to get new hardware. It would just be the software that would be upgraded.
Have they been talking about phasing out the Windows 10? Is that, do you know?
So your question,
For in general, you mean?
we do so much for the.
With, like, the
for Windows
support-
use.
Like, like the support system, the support company. I mean, a lot of times, they'll
Like
give you notice like in
Microsoft.
6 months we're not gonna be able to service this anymore. Right?
Yeah.
I haven't
I haven't
heard
heard anything.
anything.
I mean, that might be something to look into too.
Because if they did, then we would have to upgrade them,
Right.
and that would be
Right, then we'd be, yeah. So, I mean, that would be one
that would
concern
be your
about flipping them.
okay.
I mean, as long as we can get them fixed, who cares? They're not fancy, but they'll have nice new carpet.
Nice.
Will look good.
Well, and
Something to that.
We might have to hire another person to check books.
I
But
was
we'll look good.
I was in touch with your neighbor to the west, Muskego,
Uh-huh.
because they just replaced all of their carpet in 3 phases because they couldn't afford to do it all at once. So phase 1 was like their main area
Yeah,
in the children's room, and then phase 2 was the meeting rooms, which we've replaced the carpet in the meeting room.
yeah,
Phase 3 was staff. So that's kind of what I think I would do, except it would be phase 1 would be the this side of the library, maybe. Phase 2 would be the other side of the library. And phase 3 would be the
staff.
staff.
Yeah, I think that's smart because that's another thing. If the self-checks go belly up, we can push off phase 2 and you know what I mean?
Well, now with carpet, they can do all those square grid pieces, right? So like you're not looking at having to do a full carpet replacement down the line
Right.
for quite a while because you could replace some of the heavier hit.
And that's what we did.
Spaces.
We have carpet tiles and we did replace some. And you can tell in some spots because you'll have like newer looking ones next
Okay.
to really. But we've used up all of the carpet tiles we had. I mean, it's 20 years. This is 20 years. of- Yeah. And we have carpet tiles for the meeting room
But that's
up the wazoo. That's newer.
Yeah.
And so I think we can,
keep doing.
I
the
think
times
we're
that they
good.
need to.
We're good for a while in the meeting rooms. But it's this area. So my question, I guess I can find out from my tech guy, what's the status on Windows 10?
Yeah, I would just double check that.
And then if he says, oh no, they'll keep covering it through 2024, we would push that off to 2025. And then put the carpet of the, I really think 55,000 probably would only give us this part of this half of the library.
So phase 1 of
It's expensive.
3.
Yeah, because carpeting itself carpeting itself, it's the labor and the fact they'd have to move the shelves.
Okay.
And the other thing that Bob said about doing it in phases like I'm talking about is that we would have places to move the stuff.
So it's probably easier for the actual work.
Yeah,
Yeah.
to do it. Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
okay. And there is a possibility that the quote could come in higher than 55,000, but then I would just come back to the
Possibility. It's
board.
gonna totally come.
I know.
You have to find the labor, not just pay for it, you get hungry.
And, a lot of this was done when things weren't quite as crazy. as
Yeah.
they are now. So, 55,000 is kind of the low end of a thing, but
And we want it to last. I mean, if we've been going 20 years with this, we want,
if it weren't for those areas around, I would definitely get those carpet protectors.
yeah.
This time around, I don't know why they didn't have carpet protectors, because I think things would be a little bit better if they had. I'm not saying that there would be areas of worn carpeting, just I don't think it would be as bad.
Right. 20 years is good for carpet.
And so I really think, unless you guys see anything else on here,
Looks good to me.
I always put that EIFS repair because I never know, like, when IRS is going to say, oh, we're going to pop over and repair something. That's the covering of the building, the shell of the building.
On the roof.
No, like, you know, our roof, if we go outside and you touch the parts of the building, it's like a stucco type of. Bob said that's what the EIFS is.
Like on the columns and stuff,
The
right?
columns and
Oh.
above the,
Yeah, I thought
And
it was like
around.
where the roof and the wall and the outside walls meet. That's not it.
external. But I'm just going on what Bob told me.
Okay.
But I just ballpark those in there just to have something in there in case they.
So in my understanding, like, has the numbers in the list in our CIP list not really changed since kind of early COVID or pre-COVID? Like, do we want to have an expert in this area look at the costing and update it too, so that we have a better, not that every year we look at it and go, well, that was from 2020.
Yeah,
That when we're projecting out, we're really projecting on current cost.
because like for example, I don't know, for example, that 175 chairs for the meeting room will be 45,000.
Yeah, so maybe just update these numbers.
Because some stuff could be really close, but I bet the boilers are much higher than what they are in here.
If the air chiller is,
Yeah, if the air chiller could push more than double, boilers are probably gonna wanna put it 6 digits too at least.
well, I remember talking to Bob about the 80,000 because I was surprised because we have two boilers and I was surprised it was that low. And he's like, yeah, boilers really aren't that expensive. But I will get it.
Yeah,
I will
just
try to
have
get
it,
an
yeah.
expert to give me an updated.
Yeah, so that
numbers.
when we look at this sheet, we can say like prices current as of 2023.
Right, because it might adjust something.
As
Some things may
opposed
not
to-
have changed, but
COVID.
yeah, exactly. We have our little asterisks like updated post. We've had to add anywhere from 20 to 30% on the CIP stuff just because of COVID. Lead time.
Flowers went up 30%.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
And it'll drop again, I mean, over time, right?
Yeah.
Like a lot of it's limited supply and demand and workforce too, right? That workforce shifted a bit.
So, okay, are we done with that part?
Yes.
Okay, on to the fun part. I think it's the fun part.
I like that completed as red.
There was a Judy Miller thing. So the children's workroom, they did work on when I told them it was a fire hazard. I wouldn't go in
They
there
offended?
today though. They were like, well, yeah. I've never met a children's librarian that didn't have, I mean, that's just kind of the nature of the children's librarians.
Okay. So you can walk. There's a
But they
exit.
did, I did tell them, I
Right.
said, you have a lot of stuff in the way, and they did clean that up.
Okay.
Like I said, I wouldn't go over there today to look at it.
Okay, I'm okay with that.
The Phaedro kitchen, Maureen and I still need to get in there. We're going to be working on getting rid of some stuff and organizing, so getting stuff back up into the cabinets that have migrated to the countertops, and then just do a thorough clean of it. The dirty, dusty, dead bugs. I think they've been working on them a little bit at a time because, they can't go through and do all of them. But when Mike, our new custodian's awesome.
Yeah, you said
Our new maintenance
Good.
guy is
That's great.
awesome. And I think as he replaces those
bulbs. He's cleaning them out.
bulbs, he's cleaning them out.
Good.
The dusty vents they were working on. Cleaning. So then I put in here carpets. You said carpets need to be cleaned. I didn't know if it was worth spending the 4,000 to 5,000 that would
Yeah.
cost to clean them this year, if we're going to be replacing them next year. So the portico, they are waiting for getting a lift from DPW so they can get up there, change the lights, and do the cleaning. And it would be the same for the windows. You need to get that lift. The gaps in the caulk, I talked to Bob about that, and he went out and looked, and he's wondering, so there are purposely planned
Oh, those
gaps out
seeping
there.
things?
And the reason they have them is because when the water will get behind,
Right.
and that's a place for the water to get out, so that because otherwise it would push everything out
Yeah, okay.
as it the freeze thaw cycle.
Right.
So he thinks that those are the gaps that you're talking about. And when I looked at Kristen's pictures, that what it looked like.
Okay.
Am I correct on that? Or did you see anything else? Because we're not seeing anything
Anne,
else.
did you do the exterior walk with us?
No, I got here right as you were
Yeah.
coming in, and all I remember with Gap, and it wasn't clock related, was like the door at the end of the hallway by the
Right.
those rooms.
With the
but-
snake in front of it?
Yes.
The giraffe dodger?
We fixed
Yeah.
it.
And a little bit of sealing on the doors to the outside
Yeah.
patio here, but no, I wasn't there for that part.
Okay.
That's bad though. I mean, that.
Yeah, those are bad.
And the building settling, the end of the Phaedra hallway, when we get to it, I'll talk about that.
Okay.
So the gaps in the caulk, we think are normal, like I said, unless you see something else, Annie, that,
No, that sounds fine. If you checked it.
yeah.
I mean, he would
He
know.
walked around, he goes, the only gaps I'm seeing are the ones that are supposed
Okay.
to be there.
Perfect.
The electrical outlet covers, that was like one of the first things Mike did when he started, was they went around and replaced everything. The telephone, same with the telephone junction box is done. The bike racks, he
Look fantastic.
cut up that old one. And then he repainted
Yeah, it looked
the old
great.
ones, so they look much better. The handicap parking signs, DPW made new ones for us. You have to check them out.
So,
Yeah, they're brand new.
yeah.
And they made them all to match. The extension cord by Curio cabinet. So the problem with adding a new outlet there was that there was really no way to add an outlet at that spot.
Yeah, you just
So we moved
the whole
it.
thing.
We moved it. The peeling wallpaper, Bob's gonna get a quote to remove the wallpaper in
Call
the
Kristen?
hallway.
Didn't Kristen say she'd come and do it?
She
Yeah, I
did.
should call
I was here for
Kristen.
that part.
Call Kristen.
Does she know how to remove? Because I don't,
She was
I'm
very
always
excited.
tempted.
She
More
actually-
excited than anybody.
Well, but
I was like, wow.
at the prior meeting, she was gonna replace the flashing on the.
Stick her up on wallpaper.
Yeah. Yeah, call her up, see if she'll do
I'm
it.
very tempted to try
why
removing
not?
the paper because it's, in some spots, it looks like it literally
rip
would
it right
just come right off.
Yeah.
And then we could just paint it Franklin beige and be done with it.
Well,
So that's a work in progress still, but it's being worked on. The caulking around the toilets, they did. The stains on the surround, we need to get something to cover it up. That,
That's gonna be tricky. Yeah.
I don't know if I want more real plants, but I don't want fake plants either. I need something, I did talk to Bob about, could that be kind of sanded or something? Like, but he didn't know if it could.
Stone, isn't it?
I'm not sure what the surface is. Probably stone.
they're on the ends, right?
Yeah.
Could be
Slick little-
concrete.
Could be concrete.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Giant
What if we got like
Oh, that's probably what it is. Yeah.
what if we got like big squares of marble and just set them on top?
Like a
Something like
decorative?
decorative almost. Just slapped it on top. You know what I mean?
Especially if it was
Some big
something that
tile.
was somewhat the same color.
Yeah. Why not?
I just don't. I mean, I don't want too many more real plants in the library.
Yeah, I can
'Cause
understand.
first of all, when Susan Budish retires, she's our plant person. We're gonna have to have a plant sale because there's just. I mean, she spends so much time going around and fertilizing them and trim and
Oh my.
yeah. I'm like, oh, not good.
All right.
So that's the stains on the fireplace. The pendant lights are fixed. Can lights are fixed. Within a week or two of Mike starting, the library got so much brighter.
I can imagine. There are a lot of empty bulbs.
There's a light that keeps flickering over here.
In this room,
No, it's in like the white section. It's every once in a while I'm at the
Catch you in the
desk
corner
and
of your
I, like,
eye?
Yeah, see it. But it's like once a whole shift. You know, it's not even like regular, right? It'll like flick off and then flick right back on. But I'm,
That should be your signal to leave.
yeah, right. But it's happened the last 2 days, so I don't know if there's a short.
Well, I
somewhere or
would
something.
mention that either maybe the ballast is going too, because that does happen.
Yeah. Baseboard chair rail.
Baseboard chair rails, I've got to check with, because I'm not sure where they are with those, if they have cleaned them. I mean, he took the list and they were working hard on this list,
Yeah, it
so.
looks like.
The concrete by the, okay, ceiling tiles, so they didn't replace, I think I told you that they're special ceiling tiles
Right.
and they're hard to get. So what they did is they took them down, they painted them.
Excellent.
I'm like, well, that's a
The
solution.
ones that have the stains on them.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mike painted them.
So didn't even notice. Sorry. That's
Um,
great.
the
Patio.
concrete by the doorway, so that's a saga. Because Bob
I know
Tesh,
exactly what you're gonna say. You're gonna say IRS said.
no, actually, that's a saga because you can only grind that down so far and it may be too much grinding. Yeah, because Bob said if you grind too much, then you make that whole thing unstable and it'll crack. So, so then the other issue was mud jacking, which IRS actually did say if we do decide to mud jack, then they said we would have to seal around the edge. You know where it's dropped from the building? He's like that whole edge would need to be sealed very well because if you mud jack and don't seal, it's just going to go right back down. I mean, mud jacking is only temporary no matter what.
Why is the patio not on the capital front end?
Oh, well, we could talk. Okay, maybe we need to go back to the previous because yeah, maybe we do need to put that on there.
Yeah, we do.
Just tear it up and recore it.
Hardscape
For-
jacking walkways patio. Because didn't we figure that was gonna be like 30 grand?
24 last year, but I'd have to get an updated quote.
Yeah, we
I'd
need to
probably
get that on
add, I'd probably add a couple thousand on there. So 26,000.
I say mud jack and throw it on next year.
Yeah.
Mud
Right.
jack this year.
Yeah.
But do you think we really need to spend the money on mud jacking for replacing it next year?
How much is mud jacking?
Well, it could be thousands.
For that
Because they have to,
square?
because they have to do more than just that square. They'd have to do several. They'd have to do that whole,
Well, I mean,
Force of-
state. Right?
And yeah, it's hard. You're like halfway through the season where you're digging a hole, but you're still
Yeah.
half the season.
Yeah.
There's no like, I know it was how the door hit too. I was just trying to think like, there's not anything that Bob is his name that could
Yeah.
you could think of to buy this time.
The big hunk of plastic, that rubber matting
Yeah, like-
over it.
It's like,
Well,
is there something you put on each side of the
I
door?
thought,
can
can't
still
you just
do it?
put asphalt down and like make a little ramp?
Right.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
like
that
a
would
little
last
ramp.
for a year, right?
Make a little metal ramp there?
Yeah, like
Ramp
if there's something like that. I don't know, like if it passed the it's probably
Right.
a bigger issue, but
I mean, it can't be passing ADA right
No.
now.
No, it's not, no. And I'll see how you could like get a, without,
I would do them. Something I could get started. Yeah.
then again, that
That
door's
door's
not,
narrow.
Yeah.
door's narrow and yeah.
You would definitely need help to get out there.
Yeah. And back in.
Go back in.
Mhm. Well, yeah.
Be flagging people down on the
Okay, so grinding it down. Anyway, I still need to get on Bob about that.
Yeah, we need to get that on the
Yeah.
list.
And on the capital improvement list for next year. Get rid of the draft dodgers. We did. So he installed the
Like a sweep. Excellent.
Grass still somehow makes its way under there, even with
Grass gets everywhere.
like whenever they mow. I go
Nature
back there and
feed.
I'm like, dang it, there's sweeps
nature.
there.
Yeah. I always have grass in my house.
So then moving on to the decor. Colors are dark. Not a whole lot I can do with that except for when we pick out. I mean, you guys will be the ones picking out the carpet. Huh?
I don't remember that.
I think it was because like we have dark burgundy, need dark blue.
There's not big colors, right?
Yeah, like 90s colors.
They are.
right?
Yeah.
Everything but hunter green.
Carpet could help that a lot, though. I think
Yeah.
you're right. Like,
Yeah, carpet
Yeah.
could brighten it up a little bit. And libraries has a 90s feel. There's not a lot I can do about that right now, but it's on the list.
Could just tear it down. and build a new one.
You'll be so proud.
Yeah, I know that the
We
shells are
took them
gone.
down.
Are those freaking cornices gone yet?
No, the cornices are.
Oh, for the
Why not?
oh the drape.
I kind of want to see what's underneath them, what it looks like underneath. I think it's just going to look like this.
That's fine. Get rid of those ugly.
I can have Bob take those down next.
Yeah. Bring that to the top.
But I'm like, the shelves were removed.
I know, and that's great.
We're going to put them in our rummage sale.
Every time I walk in that door and look at those cornices, I want to cry.
I mean, that will help the 90s feel, right?
Yeah. I mean, they're like
Yeah.
insane.
So that feeds the above items.
Yeah.
It does. So, okay.
I think that's where the
We will-
90s feel and colors dark really came
Yeah.
from. It's over there.
Yeah.
Not so much as big.
I think so too.
You think
Because
it
we
was the
talked about even just
Phaedro?
paint in some spots to brighten. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, those
That's
two
gonna be-
lamps that I'm looking at right now.
Well, we do
Yeah.
have some big too. Like,
yeah.
everything that way.
It took Annie about a year to get rid of that artificial.
Oh my God. It was
Oh, the like yeah.
Yeah.
So speaking of, do you guys notice the pairs surrounding this room
Oh.
and how they look?
Oh no, I'm ripping those off slowly.
Okay.
So I did I did those two, but what happens when I rip them is they disintegrate in my hands.
Well, you're ripping what off?
the black
The
stuff.
the
Look over here, Annie, in this corner.
Go under.
they call them
Oh, my dining room chairs are doing that right now.
Really?
Yeah.
the spider. The spider.
Yeah, that netting stuff just
Netting,
disintegrates after enough people sitting up
Yeah.
for a long.
And it's old.
Yeah.
It's 20 years old.
Yeah. My dining room chairs are. I keep telling my
I didn't
husband.
realize that, so I went to town on these two,
Yeah.
and I couldn't figure out why I was
It's just
black.
kind of
I mean, it
crumpled.
just
Yeah, I know.
my hands were up.
We noticed it the last time we did the podcast. We're like,
Yeah.
Hey, just put on. I think next time, because after I saw what happened, I was like, I probably should have a mask on because I'm probably
Probably.
breathing all that.
Yeah.
That sounds like a high school volunteer job.
They need community.
it's okay if they
They
need
need
an
community out.
if they can be
Give them an N95 and put them to work.
We have to really do and then vacuum in here.
I could have Charlie do that.
Take them outside. Have them do it on the patio.
That's right.
Just not trip on
On the
it.
grass. I think I'd have him do it on
Yeah.
the grass because the patio would probably be. Okay, so I mean, I think we've made a good progress on
I
that.
think so too. Get rid of the cornices.
Cornices will be gone.
You should save them for Annie, and then
I-
then
didn't sound right
take
for
it and sledgehammer and take out your aggression.
I have cornices in my basement from my kids' rooms when they were babies. I haven't thrown them out yet.
I guess we should go back to the patio, the mud jacking walk hardscape, and I probably should put in 26,000 for next year for a new patio.
Yeah.
Do you think that because they're doing the parking lot, like that's something they'd be willing to add on? It would be easier to look at right now and propose.
I suppose I could ask Bob or IRS. I mean, they came out last year when they were in the middle of doing the work on the parking lot,
Yeah.
and that's when they gave us the 24,000 quote.
I'm just thinking that like here, there's some of the equipment. I mean, we'd have to shift things obviously, but it might be considerably, might be reason. I mean, it could be reasonably less because it's tagging onto a rather large project, right? That's already multiple lots, not just our lot.
The only problem is they're going to be done with this in like 3 weeks.
Yeah, I think they'll be able to pivot that
And we'd have
fast.
to, yeah, because we'd have to do like a budget amendment and
Right.
like run it through this.
That
I'd
was
have to
like a really
notice
good
it.
idea. For,
2 months ago.
The problem with the patio is if you look at the squares, it looks so good.
yeah. I know it's depressing.
It is.
Well, maybe the city would like up their time frame if we told them it's not ADA compatible.
That's true.
Because that's not really an area you want to, like as a district, we can't.
Then we're gonna have a
Something's not ADA, it's
demonstration.
like you gotta find.
Yeah, we're gonna have a demonstration on our
Right.
hands.
At least-
And it's not just gonna be you
maybe
burning the That'll be it, like, Annie will be on the flight. Some chant.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, so
I mean, we don't know if we don't have. Hate the worst I can say.
ask
the city's moving a little faster recently.
I can ask, I'll talk to Bob.
Maybe is there someone else you can ask besides Bob?
Well, he's the building's maintenance supervisor, that's the problem.
What about the guy from the city that's doing the project on
Who,
the?
Keith?
uh,
Oh,
who
Tyler
even-
Beinlich?
Is that, yeah, could you ask him?
I showed him the issue when he came through and looked at the,
He's here from the city. He knows we're not ADA, and he
assistant city engineer. I showed him
And
the
he took care of
patio
Did
and
you drop ADA?
I did not drop ADA. But I can drop
You would
ADA.
Might get us progress, and I don't think you can
the
argue.
City
that-
engineer would be all.
I
over
did
ADA.
show when I met with the new city administrator last week, I did show her that area.
The woman that's suing the city.
Kelly, yeah.
I didn't know about that.
So I showed her that and I said, our concerns are that it's not ADA compliant.
What did she say?
She agreed. But I said, we're going back and forth between mud jacking and replacing. Mud jacking, replacing. I said, it's in beautiful shape. If you look at it, it's in really nice shape. It's
When's
just,
the last time we mud
Power
jacked?
washed it, right?
we mud jacked in 20, got power washed in.
When did we mud jack?
2013.
Why aren't we mud jacking?
Because according to Bob Tesh, the more you mud jack, the less long.
I thought that was scraping.
So it's been 10 years.
It's been 10 years since we mud jacked.
And last year was
So
when
it
it started to
seemed
be a
like a-
problem.
Used to mud
No,
jack,
it's
now
been
we do it
happening.
next year. Like
It's been a problem for
so I could give
2
you a
to
couple
3
of talking
years.
to the city though, like the ADA,
Yeah.
the fact that the mud jacking lasts 10 years. Otherwise, we're gonna have to mud jack and throw that money in it just to bring somebody back out next year. And I don't like. And do we know the mud jacking will solve the ADA part of it? I don't know. I mean, I would assume that they'd have to.
They'd have to
meet
solve-
that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they'd have
solve that
to
problem.
inject enough
Yeah.
To make it flat.
to make it go up to the step.
Yeah, I agree with they only get the city on it. ADA. ADA. ADA.
Or see if we can or see if it is possible to grind down those edges and buy us a little bit of time.
There's
So,
so many.
I
Like,
gotta stay on.
yeah, because I mean, it's been since last year
And we've been,
that it's been bad.
That's why
That's probably not a bad idea. Look at we got all this fancy new furniture, but if you're in a wheelchair, you can't come out here.
and all those lovely plants we have
Yeah.
out there in the garden.
Yeah.
Okay, I think unless you have anything else
I
you
make a
want
motion
to
we adjourn.
Second.
add. Okay. It is 3:08 p.m.